51 sutras.
So your screen is not visible.
Screen is not visible. Discuss about. So today we'll discuss about the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. Total, there are 195 sutras. So how this is divided? The contents, it shows there are 4 chapters. Samadhi Pada, Sadhana, Vibhuti and Kaivalya Pada. So it is 51, 55, 56, 33 sutras. So in chapter 1, it explains about the concentration and how it is useful in our spiritual life. Then in the second chapter, it is concentration again, but it's about the practice. And in third chapter, about the powers you achieve by the power of concentration. And chapter 4 is more about the independence, the freedom you have because of these powers. So let us go to chapter 1. So in chapter 1, we are talking about the Yoga Sutras explains about the concentration and its spiritual uses. So the first one, the concentration, now the concentration is explained. So yoga is restraining the mind stuff from taking various forms. See, these English translations are made by Swami Vivekananda. So I don't think there will be someone better who can translate this. And if anyone can read these Sanskrit words, it will be, anyone can do that? Just read the sutras in the Sanskrit, then.
Atha Yoga Anusasana, first one.
Atha Yoga Anushasanam. Okay, now the concentration is explained. Then
Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha.
Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. So mainly yoga is explained in this one single word. Everywhere, even when I learned yoga from S. Vyasa, they particularly explain this line, this sutra, because the whole yoga can be explained with this one single sutra. That is, yoga is restraining the mind stuff from taking various forms. So mind stuff is the chitta and vrittis. So vrittis, in English, what do you say? Is it memory?
My
Attitude.
It is attitude. Okay. So what we call mind is known as chitta. So yoga is restraining the mind stuff. See, this one is just reading and we'll just pass on the sutras, but let us try to experience it. See, it is when we say restraining the mind stuff, in the sense, I think most of them are BKs here.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yes, Om Shanti, yes.
Om Shanti. Galaxy S8, who is this?
I'm Vinita from Tenerife, Spain.
Okay. And Santoshi Kumari, you have done Brahma Kumari's course? Okay, what I mean to say is yes. Santoshi
Hello.
Kumari, yes.
Yes, sir.
From where you are here? From
Yes,
which
sir.
place?
Patna, Bihar, sir.
You have done this Brahma Kumari's course?
No, sir, no.
Okay. So when we say mind stuff restraining the mind stuff, chitta means it is like being a detached observer. It is not allowing your mind or your awareness to get influenced by your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. That is called from taking various forms. Various forms, although it is said vritti is attitude, but it also means that you being an observer, you don't associate or become one with your thoughts, feelings, emotions, attitude, and behavior. If you can maintain your awareness as it is, being an observer, then your chitta is restrained. Because the whole Yoga Sutras, not only Yoga Sutras, even the Upanishads, just focus on this aspect. If a person is able to control his awareness, control awareness in the sense, whenever I want, I can use my mind or awareness to connect with my thoughts, feelings, emotions. And whenever I want, I will not allow my mind or the awareness to associate with my thoughts, feelings, and emotions. So if this power, or if you can do this, then that is the complete yoga. So you understand, it's like if you can be an observer and if you have total control over your thoughts, feelings, emotions, attitude, behavior. Control in the sense, whenever you want, you can associate with them. Whenever you want, you have to remain detached from them. So let us practice it now. Okay. So you will understand what is this chitta or mind stuff and what are the other various forms. See, now just become aware of your surroundings, the things, the sounds, the objects, the feelings, the emotions. In other words, you are just becoming aware of your five senses. Whatever you receive through your five senses, you are just have that feeling, emotions. So it means your mind, your awareness is being associated with them. Now, although you see, hear, feel, I want you to just become aware of the silence that exists between the two sounds. Just become still, silent, and feel the silence. As you become aware of the silence that exists within you, although you hear, although you see, you are just looking at things. You're not thinking about them. Normally, when we see things, we create thoughts. But now, although you see things, you're not thinking about anything. Your mind is still, silent. So when you're not thinking about the objects, or the sounds you hear, you're not thinking about anything. You're just be an observer by becoming aware of the silence within you. So when you're not associating with your thoughts, feelings, words, then you are restraining the mind stuff. You are restraining the chitta from getting associated with every other things received through your five senses. So the whole yoga, if you can do this, this is yoga. And all the other sutras explain in detail on how to do this or how to continue this experience with you all the time. So this one experience of experiencing the silence, and whenever you want, you become silent, and whenever you want, you connect with your thoughts, feelings, emotions. And this process is called as yoga. So yoga is restraining the mind stuff. You be aware of yourself without associating with the thoughts, feelings, emotions, and attitude. So next sutra is at that time, the time of
Shanti.
concentration,
Sorry to disturb. What is the difference between आपने जो practice करा है, the difference between daydreaming and this practice?
we'll come to that because it is all explained there. Okay, we have not even started the sutras. Okay, as we continue, we'll understand that in remaining sutras. So third one, at that time, the time of concentration, the seer rests in his own unmodified state. So when you experience that stillness, silence, your own self-awareness, so that time, the seer, the observer, remain in an unmodified state. In the sense, you are not associated, you have not become one with your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. So in psychology, in counseling, this helps you a lot because all the problems, people come to you with all the issues, anxiety, worry, the stress, with all those diseases because they are not able to detach themselves with their thoughts, feelings, emotions. So the sutra says at that time, when you become still, silent, aware, the seer, the observer, the Purusha, the soul, it rests in his own unmodified state. You are just you are. You are in your own purified, pure state, the pure state of awareness. Then at other times, other than that of concentration, see here, when people say here yoga, they think that something else we need to do, we have to do a lot of practice. But if we use the word concentration, then we will understand it is very much required in our day-to-day life. For every activities, from morning till evening, whatever we do, concentration is very much required. So when we say yoga is something spiritual, it is something which we need to do practice in our day-to-day life. So that other times, other than of concentration, the seer is identified with the modifications. You connect with the thoughts, feelings, emotions. If you are not aware of your self-silence, your own self. So what are these modifications? When you connect with your thoughts, feelings, emotions, what happens? So Sutra says there are 5 classes of modification. And even these 5 modifications, it is identified as painful and not painful. Like in counseling, we use the term pleasure and pain. Counseling, they say whatever you do, it is because either you do something out of pleasure or something out of pain. So these modifications, painful and something pleasure. So what are these 5 classes of modifications? Which you may experience as something as pain, something as not painful. Like people come to you for counseling advice because they experience pain and they want something which is not painful. They want to experience pleasure. But later we'll we'll understand that we should make them understand there is something beyond this pain and pleasure, something good for everyone. So what are these modifications? How it happens? So it happens by, in number 6, it is written right knowledge, indiscrimination, verbal delusion, sleep, and memory. So these modifications, something painful, something not painful, it happens because of these 5 classes of modification. We can either call it as right knowledge or knowledge, information, and indiscrimination. If you are able to discriminate, you are in yoga. When you are not able to discriminate, indiscrimination, then sometimes you experience pain, sometimes you experience pleasure. But both, sometimes the pleasure leads to pain, pain leads to pleasure, and the cycle continues. So it happens due to indiscrimination. Then the verbal delusion through the words, then sleep. Like what you mentioned, you were asking something, no? What happens when you sit quiet? Something you asked. I think it's like the sleep. You're not self-aware. Your eye,
Daydreaming. Daydreaming is like
yeah, daydreaming. It's also a
daydreaming.
type of sleep. You get lost in something else. Even in dream, you sleep. Even in sleep, you dream. Even in daydream, you dream. You are not aware. So it is also known as sleep. And memory. All those memories make you lose your self-awareness. So these modifications of painful and not painful comes under knowledge, indiscrimination, delusion, verbal delusion, sleep, and memory. Number 7. So what is right knowledge? That is explained here. The direct perception, inference, and competent evidence are proofs. So because of short of time, we'll try to cover, 4 chapters. So you understand this. What is knowledge? It is something you see directly or known through somebody else, or you know by your own experience. So all this silence, what you experienced, what we experienced in the beginning, it is the proof because you experience it. Did everyone experience that silence? So you don't need any other proof because it is a competent evidence because you yourself have experienced it. So indiscrimination is false knowledge not established in real nature. And here indiscrimination in the sense when we are not self-aware, when we are not detached, then it's all false knowledge. It is not established in real nature. We don't see being a detached observer. In the sense we are not in our real nature. We don't observe things as it is. When we become associated one with the objects, then it becomes false knowledge. Verbal delusion follows from words having no reality. When there is no self-awareness, there is no reality. Sleep is a vritti which embraces the feeling of voidness. So sleep means you are even if you are there, it is something like void. You are not self-aware. There is emptiness. It's something like a dead silence, and you don't know you are there, but you don't know, you don't enjoy it, or you don't know that you are there. Some type of emptiness you experience in sleep. Sleep is a vritti which embraces the feeling of voidness. And memory is when the vrittis of perceived objects do not slip away through impressions come back to consciousness. Because memory, when you see some things, it is there and you always connect with those memories. Memories of relatives, you associate your body with the relations. Whenever you say I, you associate with the body, because there is a strong memory of your physical body in your mind, in your consciousness, in your chitta. So you always associated with this physical body. So it never slips away. The impressions come back to consciousness. And their control is by practice and non-attachment. So this is what Chitta Vritti Nirodha. So what is this practice? How to control all these 5 modifications? Whether it is memory, impressions, or the knowledge, the indiscrimination, the sleep. You need to practice. Without practice, you cannot do anything. So the more you practice being a detached observer, in the sense you don't associate with all those modifications, and being a detached observer in the sense you don't get attached to all these things, all these 5 modifications. So that's how you can have control. So continuous struggle to keep them perfectly restrained is practice, because every moment there is a, you have the choice to get associated, become one with those five senses or sense awareness, the five modifications. And you also have the choice to remain an observer, be a detached observer. So this continuous struggle, every moment we have to be a detached observer. The more sometimes you get associated, you carry out your activities with your sense organs, your body, and the next moment you have to be detached. So it is a continuous struggle to keep them, the vritti is perfectly restrained in practice, is practice. This is practice. In fact, this is spirituality. Every moment you come back to your self-awareness. Its ground becomes firm by long, constant efforts with great love for the end to be attained. Because why we have to be detached? That's why this first chapter, it explains why we need to do that. Because without knowing that, people will not stick to that practice. Like when you do counseling, you should tell them why they have to do it. There should be some motivation. Why should I practice concentration? So concentration, for everything you need concentration, for any action. So if you can excel in your job, in your studies, in your activities, so once a person understand, okay, this is yoga, this is why I need to do this, then they will have developed some interest. So this ground becomes firm by long, constant efforts with great love for the end to be attained. You know the benefit of developing the concentration, the power of concentration. So then you will practice it. Otherwise, you won't do it. That effort which comes to those who have given up the thirst after objects, either seen or heard, and which wills to control the objects is non-attachment. So unless you remain detached, be a detached observer, then it is difficult. So unless, see, from morning till evening, if you are after the sense desires, I want this, I want this, I want to do this, that, keep thinking, keep planning throughout the day, then there is no way of being self-aware. So it's like whenever you want, okay, you plan, okay, this is what I need to do, this is how I'm going to do, then you detached. But people who throughout the day keep thinking about how I'm going to do, what I'm going to do, how I'm going to accumulate so much properties, wealth, and keep engrossed in the activities, then they cannot experience this self-awareness. So this effort comes to those who have given up their thirst after objects, either seen or heard, and which wills to control the objects is non-attachment, being a detached observer. You will do all the activities, but you will remain a detached person. That extreme non-attachment, giving up even the qualities, shows the real nature of the Purusha. So unless you detach from your thoughts, feelings, emotions, sense organs, sense objects, the objects, external objects, you cannot experience the Purusha. So one moment you should be detached, another moment you should know how to be detached, and the next moment you have to be detached. So this much extreme non-attachment, it's a constant detached observer. Unless you have this, unless you've given up the even the qualities, you cannot experience the self, the soul, the Purusha. So the concentration called right knowledge is that which is followed by reasoning, discrimination, bliss, unqualified ego. So how do you develop the concentration? Through right knowledge. You should know what is this, how I can experience this self-awareness by being detached from every object, every senses. And then you understand by your own experience, by understanding your bliss, your happiness is not in the object, sense objects. It is in the self-awareness you experience the bliss. An unqualified ego, you don't associate with your own ego. You are this, you are that. I am a professor, I am a guide, teacher, being self-aware, then you have the right knowledge and you develop the concentration. And there is another samadhi which is attained by constant practice of cessation of all mental activity, in which the chitta retains only the unmanifested impressions. So people without desire, just they do what is there within their uh, the earlier impressions or the previous birth. वो संस्कार होता है ना, कर्मा, उनके कर्मा हिसाब से वो अपने काम करते जाएंगे. They will do whatever activities they have it in their karma, but don't create new karmas, new desires, new relations. So it there is this is another samadhi. They don't create new impressions. It is attained by the constant practice of cessation of all mental activity. So this samadhi, when not followed by extreme non-attachment, becomes the cause of the remanifestation of gods and of those that become merged in nature. See, like people who are after powers, they do a lot of um, asanas or both karke some powers they achieve na, in spiritual powers. Then they become like gods in the sense they can do something extraordinary. They receive some spiritual powers and they are happy with that. But the real goal is not that. Even those powers are creating limitations. It is not your self-awareness, the pure awareness. To others, this samadhi comes through faith, energy, memory, concentration, and discrimination of the real. So every moment you have to be aware, whatever I am doing, it is not truth. It is not real. The real is my own self. The self-awareness is the truth. वो सच्चित आनंद कहते हैं ना. The soul is the truth. And whatever I experience, the stillness, the silence, the bliss, that is the truth. And that exists all the time. And whatever external things we go after, that is not truth. So it comes through faith, energy, memory, concentration, and discrimination of the real between what is right and what is wrong. Success is speeded for the extremely energetic. The more you are focused on what you want to attain, then you gain quick access, quick success. See, this concentration, it is not limited to some spiritual practice. Even in your worldly life, whether it is a profession, college, or it is a school, the more a person is focused, concentrated, I want this. When his concentration is totally on the object, you attain it. Even here, even if you have that awareness or you understand this is the truth, you are able to discriminate between right and wrong. What is right? When you stabilize in your own original consciousness, that is the truth. And throughout the day, if you maintain your truth, your self-awareness, then your success is speeded. They again differ according as the means are mild, medium, or supreme. So some people do it quickly. Some people are, sometimes they practice, sometimes very little they practice. So according to your effort, you attain it. Or by devotion to Ishvara. So this self-awareness, you can also attain by devotion to one God. So it is explained who is Ishvara. Because Ishvara, he remains self-aware all the time. It is that whatever you look into it, you become that. जो आप देखते हैं वही बन जाएंगे. Whatever you see, you become that. So if you focus your awareness, attention on one God, and that Ishvara, supreme ruler, is a special Purusha, untouched by misery, the results of actions or desires. In the sense, he is always in that Chitta Vritti Nirodha, pure from all desires, impressions. He remains blissful. Satchidanand Swarup कहते हैं ना. So the one God who remains Satchidanand Swarup throughout the continuously, if our mind, if we focus on him, then we attain that state quickly. In him becomes infinite that all knowingness, which in others is only a germ. Because this Yoga Sutra, Patanjali he is a devotee of, he learned yoga from Nandi Devar. See, sage Patanjali, and in south there is sage Tirumular. He has written Tirumandiram. So these both sages, they learned yoga from um, Nandi Devar. Nandi Devar, in the sense, you would have seen wherever there is a Shivling, you see a Nandi, a cow in looking at the Shivling. So this Nandi is, it's an what you call, is a representation of sage Nandi Devar. Nandi Devar, he was also a person, sage, who taught this yoga to sage Patanjali and sage Tirumular in south. If you read Tirumandiram and if you read Yoga Sutras, you will find the same terms: Yam, Niyam, Asan, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. It shows in both the scriptures. And these two were learned from Nandi Deva, and he is a devotee of Lord Shiva, God Shiva. So that Shiva is that Ishvara, the supreme ruler, is a special Purusha, untouched by misery, the results of actions or desires. In him becomes infinite that all knowingness, which in others is only a germ. So that God, he is the creator of the whole creation. In Upanishad, it is explained, from that God, the whole world arises. जैसे हमारा आत्मा के अंदर से हमारा ये शरीर क्रिएट हुआ, we soul is the creator of this physical panjabhuta. ऐसा ही the whole world is created by the supreme soul. So in him becomes infinite that all knowingness, which in others is only a germ. We have very little knowledge, but the supreme God has the whole ocean of knowledge. He is the teacher of even the ancient teachers. He is the teacher of sage Patanjali. He is the teacher of guru of sage Patanjali, and he is the supreme teacher, being not limited by time, because he is always existing, always a teacher. His manifesting word is Om. See, Om also represents the silence, what you experience. The repetition of this Om and meditating on its meaning is the way. See, Patanjali, sage Patanjali, he explains here different methods, different techniques applicable to different types of people. He says, you just focus on one God, being a devoted to one God, or you stop the vrittis, stop the thoughts created in your mind, or you do, you discriminate, you stop desiring things. So he gives different techniques for varieties of people, because he knows everyone cannot follow the same technique. So the repetition of the Om. So here he mantra chanting is mentioning. By chanting mantras, you can attain to that stillness, the silence, the Om, to that God. And by focusing on that God, then you become self-aware. So from that is gained the knowledge of introspection and destruction of obstacles. So the more you become aware, self-aware, the more you discriminate what is right and wrong, the more you stabilize in your self-awareness. And with that introspection, you will destroy the obstacles. These introspection, the self-awareness, this practice, these, your energy, the effort will destroy the obstacles. What are the obstacles you get? You have being self-aware. So it is disease, mental laziness, doubt, calmness, cessation, stop doing anything, false perception, non-attaining concentration, falling away from the state when obtained, are the obstructing distractions. So he mentions as a spiritual, in our spiritual effort, what are the different obstructions are caused. So sometimes the body becomes ill, laziness. So you understand this. Then grief, mental distress, tremor of the body, and irregular breathing accompany non-retention of concentration. So when there is no concentration, when there is no self-awareness, then you become grief. You experience sadness, worries, anxieties. So even in counseling, you will find people come to you for counseling because there is no concentration. There is no self-awareness. First of all, there is no concentration in the sense, even normal activities, they are not able to concentrate. But our aim is to bring them to concentrate on self, to become self-aware. Thereby they become self-empowered. So whatever the counseling techniques we use, unless we make them concentrate, focused, there is no healing. So because there is no concentration, attention, then because of that, they get into mental disorders, mental distress, sadness, tremor of the body, irregular breathing. So to remedy this, practice of one subject should be made. So here it is said one subject in the sense, focus on one thing, either God, do some activities, do some repeats, chant some mantras, focus on the discrimination, focus on what is right, what is wrong, or you practice attention, focus on one object, avoiding all other distractions. Like make a point, apply a point, and just keep practicing, concentrating, so that you don't get diverted from other distractions. So to remedy this, practice of one subject should be made. And this is another technique. See, sometimes even if you're not able to concentrate, there is another technique. What is it? Develop friendship, have mercy, gladness, indifference, being thought of in regard to subjects happy, unhappy, good and evil respectively, being thought of in regard to subjects happy, unhappy, good and evil respectively, pacify the chitta. See, this what it means. When you have some negative feeling, create good feeling, positive feeling, opposite feeling. Like our cognitive behavior therapy, you identify what are the thoughts, feelings which is affecting you, and just replace them. Change it into mercy, friendship. When you have anger, make it develop mercy, gladness, indifference between good and bad. So these activities, focusing on your thoughts, feelings, emotion, that also pacify your chitta, calm your mind. And another technique what Sage Patanjali says is by throwing out and restraining the breath, like pranayam. So people who cannot concentrate on one object, who cannot concentrate on what is right and wrong, just concentrate on the breath. So that's what he says, by throwing out and restraining the breath. Then also you can develop concentration. See, there are the different techniques he explains about the concentration. So once you understand this, you will know to which person what techniques you can use. But although you use different techniques, you know where the person should reach at the end. It should not be that you give them the technique and the person get lost in the techniques and you don't make them reach the goal. So the goal is to become self-aware, be concentrated, restrain your chitta vritti nirodha. That is your goal. And for this, there are different techniques. So we should also know to which person, and one person can practice something at some time and other thing at other time. But we should always keep in mind never to get lost in what we do. The final goal is to chitta vritti nirodha, we have to reach, to become self-aware. So these forms of concentration that bring extraordinary sense perceptions cause perseverance of the mind. So when you practice this concentration, you get a lot of powers. Like even our day-to-day life, just those who practice, those who are practitioners of meditation, they will realize that when something going to happen, they get to know beforehand. They have some nice experiences, good feelings, emotions. So these experiences or extraordinary sense perceptions, it gives you faith. It makes you feel, okay, I'm doing something and I'm getting benefit out of it. So they stick to that practice. So that's what here says, those forms of concentration that bring extraordinary sense perceptions, good feelings, good emotions, some benefit you achieve because of your concentration, that keeps you persevere to continue doing what you are doing. Or by the meditation on the effulgent one, which is beyond all sorrow. It is again the God who is God, or anyone who is beyond sorrow. Because whoever you see, if the person is happy, you become happy. If the person is sad, you become sad. So here says, okay, if you're not concentrating on God, at least concentrate on someone who is beyond all sorrow. or by meditation on the heart that has given up all attachment to sense objects, who are free from all these negativities. You focus on them, so that also you develop concentration. Or by meditating on anything that appeals to one as good. Do something which makes you feel good. Some activities you do that also makes you feel good. That also stops the negative things. It also reduces your number of thoughts. So then it's like a meditation. Like you practice visualization technique, you practice psychoneurobics. So these things which makes you good, it also helps in meditation. The yogi's mind, thus meditating, becomes unobstructed from the atomic to the infinite. So what happens, the more you experience this, you also remain self-aware and you also become unlimited in your awareness. The yogi whose vrittis have thus become powerless, controlled, obtains the in the receiver, receiving and received, concentratedness and sameness like the crystal before before different colored objects. See, like a crystal, if a crystal is clean and clear, whatever the color you place it in front, you become that. So here says the yogi whose vrittis have thus become powerless obtains in the receiver, receiving and received, the self, the mind and external objects, concentratedness, concentration and sameness like the crystal before different colored objects. So it means if you want, you connect with the object with 100% focus. Like if a person is able to do yoga, remain self-aware, and if he is playing a cricket match, he becomes one with that cricket and he can excel in that action. So one crystal, if it is placed before a colored object, the crystal becomes red. If it is in front of red, it becomes red. If it is in front of blue, it becomes blue. There is no distractions. So if I am able to concentrate, if we practice that yoga and concentration, then whatever activities we do, we become concentrated on that and we excel in what we do, whatever action we do. So sound, meaning and resulting knowledge being mixed up is called samadhi with reasoning. See, sound, meaning and resulting knowledge mixed up is called samadhi with reasoning. See, in samadhi, there are different types of samadhi. It is explained in this Yoga Sutra. See, samadhi means, we can say it is a concentration. But which concentration? Let us say samadhi means concentration. But this concentration, one is you are concentrating on some external objects and performing the action, which helps you do things better. And there is another way of concentration. You get detached from everything and just concentrate on yourself, awareness. So that's what here he explains about various samadhis. So this samadhi is about the reasoning. You understand the sound, objects, your job, your activities, and you understand it. The more you focus, more you understand the objects. So it is called samadhi with reasoning. The samadhi called without reasoning comes when the memory is purified or devoid of qualities, expressing only the meaning of the meditated object. The more you meditate, the more your yoga, chitta, vritti, nirodha, the more you become self-aware, then you no need to, that focus is something different. Although you look at the things, you being a detached observer, you observe things. So that is a different type of samadhi. So by this process, the concentration with discrimination and without discrimination, whose objects are finer, are also explained. See, it is explained about the various types of concentration. Sometimes you get into the object, you play, become one with the match, you one with the job activities. Another is you get detached from the junction, from the objects, and just remain as you are. Sometimes you identify this is right, this is wrong. Sometimes you don't identify. So by this process, concentration with discrimination, without discrimination, with attachment, without attachment, whose objects are finer, are explained. Finer in the sense, sometimes we keep attached with our intellect, sometimes we attach with the mind thought, sometimes we attach with the activities, sometimes we attach with the objects. So these are all being explained now. So finer in the sense, not finer in the sense of physical objects, finer in the sense they are mind, they are thoughts, they are intellect. So sometimes we are concentrate on mind, thinking, we just get lost in our thought. So that is also not self-awareness. Sometimes we get lost in the actions. That is also not self-awareness. But sometimes we are self-aware and keep thinking. So it is with discrimination. Sometimes we are not self-aware and get lost in the thoughts. That is without discrimination. So the concentration, there are various types of concentration. The pure concentration is I am self-aware. It is a pure concentration. And when with self-awareness, being a detached observer, when I connect with the thoughts, then it is with discrimination. Without self-awareness, when I connect with the thoughts, it is without discrimination. And when I connect with the thoughts, it is called finer. And when I connect with the physical objects, it is physical. So these things are being explained. The finer objects end with pradhana. The more finer you become, the more you are close to the Purusha, the soul, the pradhana. The important is the truth is soul. So the if you are just connecting with the thoughts, and the moment you detach from the thoughts, you come back to your self-awareness. But if you are connecting with the objects, when you detach from the object, you come to the mind. From the mind, you come to the emotions. Then slowly you come to the pradhana. Pradhana is the most important, the soul. But the finer in the sense, if you are just connected to the thoughts, not the physical objects, then it is very easy to come to your self-awareness. So these concentrations are with seed. See, wherever you concentrate, you perform some action and you get some result. But the more you connect with your self-awareness, there is no seed, there is no result out of it. So the above concentrations, when you connect with your mind, connect with your thoughts, when you connect with your objects, then it means you perform something and there is a seed result you get out of it. The concentration without reasoning being purified, the chitta becomes firmly fixed. So the concentration without reasoning, in the sense you are not thinking about anything, you are not planning about anything, you are not involved in anything, you just remain as you are. You know, I am self-aware. So then you become firmly fixed. In the sense, anytime you can be you as you are, be a detached observer constantly. So when you remain a constant detached observer, then you don't keep thinking, you don't keep reasoning. So the concentration without reasoning being purified, that chitta, that self-awareness, then it becomes fixed, it becomes constant. So the knowledge in that is called filled with truth. So when you are self-aware and perform any action, when you understand things, that is the truth. When you forget your self-awareness and perform actions, that is false. The knowledge that is gained from testimony, inference is about common objects. That from the samadhi just mentioned is of much higher order, being able to penetrate where inference and testimony cannot go. Because all this worldly knowledge, it is obtained by your analyzing things, understanding, using your mind, using your intellect. But that self-awareness, which is beyond the thinking, beyond the thoughts, beyond the analyzing ability, that is the truth. So here it is mentioned in 48, it is mentioned the knowledge that is called filled with truth, in the sense there is no thoughts. You're not analyzing, you are just become self-aware. You are just an observer. And that is the truth. And that is the higher knowledge. All other knowledge is not higher, it is lower. So this sutra 49, it explains the knowledge that is gained from testimony, by the scriptures, by understanding, by inference, is about common objects. That is not the final, that is not the truth. That from the samadhi just mentioned, that mentioned is just 48, which is filled with the truth, is of a much higher order. Because when you are self-aware, you're not thinking, you're not reasoning, you're not trying to understand anything. You just become aware of your inner stillness, silence, bliss, happiness, joy. You experience that Sachidanand Swarup. So there is no analyzing, inference, testimony. So this awareness is called that higher order. This is the samadhi of higher order. So the resulting impression from this samadhi obstructs all other impressions. The moment you become self-aware, then you are free from all other obstructions. You're free from the 5 modifications, the memory, the sleep, the knowledge, the indiscrimination. Everything disappears because you become self-aware. So by the restraint of even this impression, which obstructs all other impressions, all being restrained, comes the seedless samadhi. So when you totally detach from your activities, your feelings, the emotions, the thoughts, the mind, then you become self-aware, and that awareness is without seed. It is called that seedless samadhi. So this first chapter explains what is concentration, how it is, what is about, what is the benefit out of it. Sage Patanjali is motivating you. This is the truth, and this is what you will experience, and this is how you should experience. And the next chapter comes the practice. So he goes into more detail. This is the essence of Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. If you can do this, like in Brahma Kumari's meditation, you practice being a detached observer. You connect with the Supreme. You experience that bliss, inner happiness, joy. Then that's it. But we need to maintain, we need to understand how I lose that self-awareness by connecting with thoughts, feelings, emotions, objects, activities, plannings. So that distractions, when I understand, then I'm able to detach from them and remain connected with the Supreme and experience that being a detached observer with that bliss, happiness, joy, with that Sachidanand state of mind. So if we can do this, this chapter is enough for Yoga Sutra. And because we do counseling, people come to us, we need more information, how to do it, what is the step-by-step technique, how we can counsel them. So then we have to read the other next chapters. So the next chapter is sadhana, concentration, practice, how we can practice it. So here I'm not going into detail. I'll just explain you that in this he explains what is asana, the niyam, what is that niyam? Another is iyam. What is that iyam? Say yam means non-killing, truthfulness, non-stealing, continence. So yam, niyam, asana, pranayam, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi are limbs of yoga. In 29 he explains these are the 8 steps of yoga. So even these 8 steps he explains before, what is ignorance, how it is caused. We'll just go through it quickly. Maybe in 10 minutes we'll finish it off. So mortification is restraining, to be self-aware. Then you study to understand, like we have studied now, how we get into the false identifications, how we can surrender our activities to God. That is called Kriya Yoga. Then by the practice of Samadhi, we pain-bearing obstructions are removed. What are the pain-bearing obstructions? Ignorance, egoism, attachment, aversion, clinging to life. And he's explaining what is ignorance, what is egoism, what is attachment, what is aversion, and what is meditation. So he explains one by one, and what is pleasure or pain, what is virtue or vice, and how to remain neutral in that. And how to remain neutral, the cause of misery, the misery which is not yet come, is to be avoided. How to avoid? The cause of that which is to be avoided is the junction of the seer and seen. Being an observer, the observed. If you can maintain that difference, that junction, the moment you get connected, it's gone. See, it is the observer, this is observed. Observed is always vibrating. When the observer connect with that, then both will change, keep moving. But if you know the difference, if you keep this gap, distance, the junction between the seer and the seen, if you maintain this gap in between, however your mind get disturbed, or whatever the objects you see, it moves, you never move because you remain still, you remain stable. But if you don't maintain this gap, junction, when it is get connected, then the seer and seen both are affected. So this junction has to be maintained. That is the chitta vritti nirodha. The more you are able to throughout the day, if you can maintain this distance, then you remain stable. If you don't maintain this distance, then you get affected because this object is always moving. If you don't see, if you are attached, in the sense you get affected. If you remain stable, however forceful it moves, you remain stable all the time. Okay, so the cause of that which is to be avoided is the junction of the seer and seen. This junction has to be avoided. The experience is composed of elements and organs, is of the nature of illumination. And again, how you experience, some is sattva, rajas, and tamas. So these three qualities the experience is mentioning. And the more you are sattvic, like in previous chapter we learned, the more you have positive qualities, positive thinking, the CBT techniques, then you are in sattva. Otherwise, you rajas will overcome you, the inertia, tamas you will experience. So the more you remain sattvic in nature, then you are more close to become self-aware. So the state of the qualities, rajas, tamas, he is explaining what is rajas, what is tamas, what is sattvic. So, and all these problems comes because of ignorance, not maintaining our truth, the self-awareness. So there being absence of that ignorance, there is absence of junction. So there is no ignorance in the sense there is no junction. If I am like this, there is truth. If there is no junction, there is attachment, then there is no truth. Absence of that, there is absence of junction, which is the thing to be avoided. That is the independence of the seer. So if you remain, keep this junction free, then there is an independence. If there is no gap, there is there is a junction, then there is no independence. The means of destruction of ignorance is unbroken practice of discrimination. So every moment I should be aware whether I am observer, I am observer. The moment I lose that detached observer, then I get lost. So it is a continuous, unbroken practice of discrimination between what is right and what is wrong. Whether I am self-aware in my actions, in my thoughts, in my feelings. So every moment we have to be aware. The attention should be constant. So his knowledge is of the sevenfold highest ground. By the practice of the different parts of yoga, the impurities being destroyed, knowledge becomes effulgent up to discrimination. So these different parts of yoga, yam, niyam, asana, dharana, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. So the more you practice all these things in your daily life, then you become self-aware. So the moment you become self-aware, you have to stick to that self-awareness. So yam, niyam, asana, dharana, dhyana, samadhis are to be practiced. So that is explained. What is niyam? What is yam? What is asana? So internal and external purification, niyamas. Then to obstruct thoughts which are inimical to yoga, contrary thoughts will be brought. It is also explained before, like cognitive behavior therapy. The obstructions are killing. So all these 8 steps he is explaining one by one here. Internal, external cleanliness, contentment. Then again he explains about God by sacrificing all to Ishvara. He is also mentioned about mantra. He is also about pratyahara. This pranayam also is mentioned. So all those 8 steps he is mentioning, different techniques what you can do, which he explained before also. Then the mind becomes fit for dharana. The mind becomes fit for concentration. When there is no tamasic, no rajasic, when you have mind becomes sattvic, then when you are able to discriminate, when you are able to practice the various practices to which help you to concentrate, then your mind becomes fit for dharana. Dharana in the sense, the more concentrated you become. Pratyahara results in the absolute control of the sense organs. So all those 8 steps and how to do it is explaining in the chapter 2, the practice. And in the chapter 3 explains about the powers. See, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi is nothing but whatever you do in our day-to-day activities. Like if you are doing some course, you are totally focused. You go through the studies, you try to understand, then you get the knowledge. So this Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi is nothing but a normal concentration what we use in our day-to-day life. So these powers, according to my understanding, I find it is just an example. He has given, if you practice this, you attain this. But in real life, we attain, like you can excel in your job, you can do better in your profession, better in your studies, better in your whatever activities you do. So it is not that you, the person who are not involved in job or other things, doing nothing, sitting at one place, then they experience something else. They gain some different powers. But as a person, we involved in our different activities, we experience these powers of concentration in our job, in our studies, in our activities, in our whatever actions we perform. So you can go through it in chapter of ours. He explains when there is dharana, dhyana, samadhi is nothing but dharana in the sense you are about to concentrate, and dharana is you are able to concentrate for a certain period of time, and samadhi is the more you concentrate, you try to, you get the understanding what it is. So here he mentions wherever you put your concentration, if you concentrate on the sun, you get to know what the molecules of sun, how it function. If you concentrate on the god, you understand his qualities, you start experiencing. That's what we do in Raja Yoga, like Brahma Kumari's Raja Yoga. We do dharana, dhyana, samadhi on one Ishvara. So by doing that practice, we start experiencing the qualities of God. Then we become godlike and we become self-aware. So that is dharana, the powers of concentration is, that's what we experience. So that is what explained, wherever you focus, what are the powers you can gain. That is explained in this chapter 3. So then comes the chapter 4. Chapter 4 is independence. So when you start practicing your dharana, samadhi, by practicing purity on thoughts, feelings, emotions, when you concentrate on God, when you meditate, when you perform all yam, niyam, asana, dharana, dhyana, samadhi, when you are able to concentrate, then you become independent. In the sense, what we discussed in the chapter 1, that is explained more here. What you will become by practicing all these things, you become independent, you become self-aware, you become a detached observer, constant detached observer. And in that independence, what you experience, the siddhis are attained by birth. See, here he mentions the different powers normally people experience by birth because they have done a lot of tapasya in the previous life, with chemical means, with mantras, with mortification. Mortification in the sense restraining your mind from getting involved in activities, with concentration. So the change into other species is by filling in of nature. Change into another species is nothing but when the soul connect with the mind objects, then I lose my self-awareness. That is what it mentioned, change into another species. So good deeds, etc., are not the direct causes in the transformation of nature, but they act as breakers. See, here it is mentioned, whatever we have done, yam, niyam, dharana, dhyana, samadhi, meditation, all these, why we do, that is explained here. Why we are doing all these different activities? To become self-aware, to remove all the obstacles, to become free from all the attachments. So then what happens? These good deeds, etc., are not the direct cause of transformation of nature, but they act as breakers of obstacles to the evolutions of nature. As a farmer breaks the obstacles to the course of water, which then runs down by its own nature. So being self, yourself, Purusha has got lot of powers. But all these asana, dharana, dhyana, samadhi, you are not doing something to attain something. You are just stopping all these obstacles so that you become aware of your own powers. You become godlike in nature. So all these activities, what is explained in the previous chapters, it is helping you to remove all the obstacles so that I become clean and clear. It's like a mirror. There is a lot of dust, and all these practices help you to remove the dust so that you shine with your own brightness. You regain your natural nature. So from egoism alone proceed the created minds. So among the various chittas that which is attained by samadhi is desireless. So this is the ultimate powers. The when you become remain a constant detached observer, then that samadhi is desireless. You don't desire for anything more because you get stabilized in your own self-awareness. So works are neither black nor white for the yogis. For others, they are threefold: black, white, mixed. Because here, when you say yogi, in the person who has experienced that self-awareness, the one who retained that self-awareness constantly, for him there is nothing right, wrong, neutral, because he is always stabilized in that self-awareness. So, so from these threefold works are manifested each state only those desires. So here he is explaining about the effect of being self-aware. The more you become self-aware, the independence you gain, and what all you will not achieve and what all you will achieve. That is explained in this chapter. So thirst for happiness, being eternal, desires are without beginning, but being held together by cause, effect, support, and objects. In the absence of these is its absence. The past and future exist in their own nature, qualifies having they are manifested or fine, being of the nature of the gunas. The unity in things is from the unity in changes. See, in this chapter, he explains the moment you become self-aware, detached, then how you see the things, how you remain detached irrespective of whatever is happening around you. That is explained here. Things are known or unknown to the mind, being dependent on the coloring which they give the mind. The state of mind are always known because the Lord of the mind is unchangeable. Because you remain detached constantly, you understand what is happening, what is not happening, whether it is affecting you, not affecting you, how it is affecting. So you become a master, you become a king of all the objects, the mind, the feelings, the emotions, the senses, the objects, because you remain detached, you remain independent. The states of the mind are always known because the Lord of the mind is unchangeable. You remain stable. You know when you are rajasic, tamasic, sattvic, you never get attached. You always remain a detached observer. So mind is not self-luminous, being an object. Even the thoughts are not self-luminous, but only the self is self-luminous. From its being unable to cognize two things at the same time. So he says the essence of knowledge, the Purusha being unchangeable, when the mind takes its form, it becomes conscious. Colored by the seer and seen, the mind is able to understand everything. Because unless there is Purusha, you don't understand anything. The mind, through its innumerable desires, acts for another being combination. Because the mind is just a servant for the soul, the self. For the discriminating, the perception of the mind as Atman ceases. Because when I know I am the self, I remain stable, then the wrong identification with the mind ceases, stops. I always know I am the self, and these mind, the thoughts are different. I am not the thoughts, I am not the mind, I am the separate. This difference becomes stable, constant for the yogi. So for the discriminating, the perception of the mind as Atman ceases. He never identifies wrongly the mind as the self. Then bent on discriminating, the mind attains the previous state of Kaivalya. So the more throughout the day, if I maintain this awareness of being self, different from this mind, then I am totally attained that freedom, Kaivalya, isolation, separateness. So the thought that arise as obstructions to that are from impressions, because all the obstructions are come because of the impressions, ideas, associating with the ideas. So that is what, even when arriving at the right discriminating knowledge of senses, he who gives up the fruits unto him comes as the result of perfect discrimination, the samadhi called the cloud of virtue. So like the supreme soul who remains constantly with that glory, he never ever comes into the attachment of the senses, mind, objects. He remains self-aware all the time. So that state the yogi attains. From that comes cessation of pains and works. Then knowledge, bereft of covering and impurities, becomes infinite. The knowable becomes small. Then he becomes enam. See, the more you become pure, aware, become self-aware, equal like God, then the knowledge, it just appears. You don't have to gain knowledge. The knowledge exists all the time. When the soul appears in the body with its knowledge, it creates the body. It carries everything. It knows everything. But when I know I don't know something, then it means ignorance. I'm not self-aware. So the more you remain self-aware, then it becomes that yogi becomes knowledgeful like God. Then are finished the successive transformations of the qualities, they having attained the end. The changes that exist in relation to moments and which are perceived at the other end are succession. The resolution in the inverse order of the qualities, bereft, a perfect bereft. Bereft means separate of any motive of action of the Purusha is Kaivalya. So the more independence you experience, that is the Kaivalya, the freedom, independence. Or it is the establishment of the power of knowledge in its own nature. So this chapter just explains when you become independent, how you are not affected by the things what they explained in the before. He concludes in this chapter 4. Okay. So the Patanjali Sutra is nothing but it is what in Brahmakumari is what we learn to be a detached observer and not getting associated with the various thoughts, feelings, emotions and get disturbed. That is the pure knowledge, pure systematically it is explained in Patanjali Yoga Sutra. And if you read the Upanishads, this is the same knowledge explained in Upanishads. Maybe sometimes we will discuss, and sometime later we will also take up some individual Upanishads and discuss about it. Okay. So now if there is any questions, you may ask.
अजीम भाई, आप मेरी आवाज आ रही है?
एक सेकेंड. Yeah, yes.
जी, आवाज आ रही है भाई?
Yes, आ रही है.
भाई, हम बात करते हैं जब डिटैच्ड ऑब्जर्वर की, तो खुद को रिमाइंड कराना पड़ता है कि आई एम नॉट सपोज्ड टू गेट एनग्रॉस्ड इन दिस पर्टिकुलर एक्टिविटी या आई एम नॉट सपोज्ड टू गेट कैरिड अवे विद दिस पर्टिकुलर इमोशन. ये या अगर हम साइलेंस की भी प्रैक्टिस करते हैं, तो साइलेंस की प्रैक्टिस करते वक्त भी ये थॉट होता है कि मुझको साइलेंस का प्रैक्टिस करना है. सो हाउ टू अटेन दिस स्टेज ऑटोमेटिकली? अगर इवन इफ आई एम सिटिंग एंड आई एम प्रैक्टिसिंग, तो कहीं बैक ऑफ द माइंड थॉट इज दैट आई हैव टू improve my concentration, so I have to sit silently. Or
Okay.
I am trying to improve my concentration.
Understand. See, now let us practice this. Okay. See, practice this. My eyes are looking straight, but my attention is on my tip of the finger. You can even stretch your fingers far wide, but keep your attention on the tip of the finger. Yes. Yes, like that. Let your eyes look straight. Let your eyes look straight, but the attention be on the tip of the finger. And your tip of the finger you can stretch far wide, and your eyes are looking straight, but the attention is on the tip of the finger. So now tell me, when your attention is on the tip of the finger, who is looking at the tip of the finger? Is it your eyes?
Right, consciousness. I have practiced this earlier also. Eyeballs को move किए बिना, face
हाँ.
को भी move किए बिना, I can look at the tip.
So here, what I mean to say is, whatever you look, whatever you think, whatever you feel, whatever you experience, it is happening with your attention. If there is no attention, you are not experiencing anything. Okay. So here, I'll give you another experiment. This you keep in mind. One is you should understand, wherever your attention is, that is what you are. Where your attention is not there, you are not there. So at least one realization is, it is me. When I say I is no other than the attention. Okay. So one way of understanding the self-awareness is to be attentive. If you are experiencing silence, just experience the silence. Be attentive on the silence. And you are the one who is attentive, and it is the attention is you. I think in this way also you can stop other thoughts. You just be attentive on whatever you do. If you are talking, be attentive and talk. And the next practice is where I am being attentive, where I experience this attention. For this, I will suggest you make a point on the wall and focus on that point. Let your attention be on that point. And if you practice this for 5 minutes, you will understand, you will have a feeling that you are looking at that point from behind your eyes. Okay. So first step is you understand that I am that attention who is looking, who is doing everything. Whether I see, whether I hear, whether I feel, whether I do any action, it is my attention who is doing all the activities. So that is the first understanding, first realization. The second realization is, who is this one who is attentive? From where I am being attentive? So for this practice, how you can have these experiences, make a point, put a point anywhere on the wall or anywhere, and look into it, stare at it. So the more you stare at it, you will understand, after 5 minutes of practice, you will know that there is something, a point behind your eyes, looking at that point. Let us practice now. Just look at a point in front of you anywhere on your computer screen. Just focus on a point. And remembering the previous one, you know, when you are attentive, you are the one who is attentive. And your eyes are open. And you are attentive on that point. And who is being attentive? The someone who is behind your eyes. Although your eyes are looking at it, in fact, your eyes are not looking at it. The one who is attentive, the attention is looking at that point. Yes. And as you focus on this point, you will understand that the attention, looking through these eyes, through the windows of these eyes, I am looking at that point. So one, I have realized I am the attention. And second, I realize I am a point located at the backside of the eyes. I am the one from the behind the eyes looking at this point. So there are two awareness you have. One is being attentive. Another is from behind the eyes. If you can maintain these two awareness, being attentive and from behind the eyes, and with these two awareness, if you perform all the action, you will know that I am different from everything. Although I am seeing, I know I am different from the action of seeing. Now, as you look at my screen, look at my face, and if I ask you, if you reply, can you reply with that attention, that from behind the eyes, being attentive, I am replying you? See, when you talk also, you can be attentive. You can know I'm behind the eyes and I'm answering. So in that state of mind, you are just one with the action. There is a concentration, there is attention, there is dharana, dhyana, samadhi in this. So you are not associating with मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ, क्या करूँगा, कैसे करूँगा. There is no association of anything else, because you are attentive. I am looking through behind my eyes and I am attentive. So this itself is a practice of being a detached observer.
Looking at one point, actually आपने पहले भी समझाया हुआ है. I've been practicing, but अभी ये first time ऐसा practice किया कि उसी stage पे रहकर आपको जवाब दिया या उस awareness पे रहकर. But ऐसा तो नहीं होता है ना भाई, जब हम कहते हैं thoughtless state तो नहीं है.
No, thoughtless stage here, what I mean is thoughtless in the sense, see, one group will say it is a thoughtless stage. One group will say there is no thought, there is a thought, but both are right. See, when I say thoughtless stage, in the sense, I'm not thinking anything else. It means there is concentration. See, Brahma Kumaris mein Baba ka clear shabd hai. Baba never mentioned thoughtless stage. He says one pure single thought.
जी जी
See, when we remember God in Parandam and start experiencing that peace, happiness, joy, there is a one single thought of being concentrated and experiencing. So that time you are detached from all other thoughts.
right.
And when I am looking at something, I know I am behind the eyes looking at. So there is only one thought. I am free from all other thoughts. So detached in the sense, detached from other things and being focused on one thought as an observer. When I remember God, I am detached from all other thoughts and I am just focused on one God. There is no other thoughts. So you can either call it as thoughtless stage or it's a concentrated stage.
अच्छा अजीम भाई, आज भी आपने बोला और वैसे भी आपने कई बारी बताया है प्रैक्टिस करने के लिए दैट वी शुड सिट साइलेंटली, मतलब बिल्कुल चुपचाप बैठना। व्हाट आई हैव एक्सपीरियंस्ड, जब ऐसा प्रैक्टिस करते हैं तो नींद आ जाती है।
Huh, that is what. See, when we sit in silence doing nothing, then it is an voidness. वो बताया था ना initial उस sutras में था sleep. So when you are just silent, you get lost in sleep because it is boring. There is no other thought. That's why Baba mentions the word sweet silence. He never mentions just silence. So even when you experience Shiv Baba in Parandam, when you are focused, like when you are looking at a point, when you're focused on the point, you are not, it is not a boring silence. Although when you are just looking at a point, after a few minutes, your attention comes to yourself and you start experiencing the qualities of your own self, being light, being easy, being bliss, being, that's what inner smile. You also experience that inner joy, inner smile. And it is the same qualities. It is called Sachidanand. So it is your own qualities of peace, happiness, joy, bliss, whatever you experience. It is the same qualities with God. Either you remain self-aware, whether you remain God-aware, you are going to become light, easy, happy, joy, inner smile. So when you start engrossed in yourself with these qualities, then you become more alert, more joyful. Then the sleep will not be there. Okay. It is not boring silence what we learn in other meditation. It is an joyful. इसके लिए बोलते हैं ना सच्चिदानंद, आनंद. यही सत्य है. Your own self awareness, God awareness. That is the truth, Sat, and that is Chit. That is your pure consciousness. That pure silence, smile, joy. That is your pure consciousness. That is the truth. That is the true nature of the soul. That is the bliss. And Anand, it is Anand. It is happiness. You have that calmness, silence, joy. So when you are in Sachidanand state, you never get sleep. Okay.
थैंक यू भाई।
Thank you. So in chat, I think let me see the chat. What's the difference between concentration and mindfulness? When you concentrate, you become mindfulness, but it is not yoga. Yoga is when you become self-aware and engrossed in the qualities of the self or qualities of God. That is yoga. So mindfulness, it is nothing but another concentration. See, one is seedless samadhi, one is samadhi with seed. That samadhi with seed can also be called as mindfulness. And keep an aura around you to avoid getting affected by the seen and seer. Okay, when you become self-aware, or naturally you are protected. There is no need to think about aura. When you become self-aware, you are protected. You become godlike in nature. Very nice, but a bit too. Is it possible to share this PP PowerPoint? Okay, no problem. We can share. मुझे कुछ भी समझ में नहीं आ रही है. I don't understand anything. Please pass this in Hindi writing, Hindi commentary or today regarding also. When focus is completely on the self, not on external objects, people, we become self-aware. Yes, that's true. When you become self-aware, the attention, the bliss, being a detached observer, you become self-aware. Okay. So anything else? We can stop here. I think it's almost 5:30. So thanks for all of you to join this session and share your thoughts.
Thank
Thank you, doctor. Thank you. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Thank you, Azeem Bhai. Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone. Thanks to all the participants. We can end the session, Azeem Bhai.
Yes, yes, sister. Thank you. Thank for the coordinators. Um, so this video is being recorded. It's recorded.
Ji Bhai.
Is it stopped recording?
No, I'll just tell Kumudini sister to
Okay.
stop.
Thank you, Sister Kumudini. Thank you, Sister Pooja, for coordinating and organizing this session.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Om Shanti.